Good evening. Welcome to this special edition of Moving Forward. I'm your host, Sheila Frazier, and my guest tonight is Chicago Teachers Union Field Representative Ted Haji Harris. And he's
Hello.
also running for president of Chicago Teachers Union. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you here too. We've worked together before. When I was a teacher at Lindblom for over 30 years and I was a union delegate, you were my field rep.
Yes, I
And we
remember
worked
it.
well together. I called you Matlock.
I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a pleasure serving you, and I'm very excited to be on the show. I'm very excited to have you as a member of the School Employee Alliance.
Yes, I've
which
joined
is
School
our
Employee Alliance because, I'll follow you anywhere. You were a good leader then, and I'm sure you'll be a good leader now.
Well, thank you.
I've worked with the other caucuses, but I find the Employee Alliance caucus to be that has one of the best platforms.
Well, we put together what we believe is a very attainable platform with goals that touch all of the members, and that's something that over the years I've felt as a very active unionist. I've served in the House of Delegates for 10 years. I was a school representative since 2000, and the last 5 years in my capacity as field representative. And I think we really got to be able to touch all the members. And they really, when they call and they ask for assistance from the union, we have to be there for them. And I think I've been able to provide that over the years.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can vouch for that.
Thank
certainly.
you. Mm-hmm.
But now, education is really, it's a big deal in the news now because we hear that here in Illinois there's a $1 billion shortfall with Chicago public schools, and even more because the governor is asking people to. He wants an increase in property taxes, I guess, he says so we won't have to fire so many teachers. So this contract that whoever wins, and I hope it will be us, but whoever wins will have to negotiate a new contract. Why is that? Could you explain to our viewers about that?
Well, it's not necessarily a new contract, but there is a provision in the current contract that allows the Board of Education to make adjustments to the scheduled 4% salary increases. That article is 47 of the current union contract, and if they decide to go that route, then it's up to the next leadership of the Chicago Teachers Union to decide what course of action they're going to take.
Well, it seems like I think Ron Hooverman has already said that we'll have to renegotiate some things of the contract.
Yes, absolutely.
Because of lack of money.
Yeah, and it's coming from the state level. Obviously, Illinois is not providing as much support to the schools in state funds as other states. Mm-hmm. You've probably heard this a lot that Illinois ranks 49th out of 50 states for education funding, but there has to be better equity in funding different school districts. And Chicago's a big school district. You have a lot of dedicated teachers, and the worst thing that could possibly happen is some kind of impasse when it comes to the contract. But it's very important that the next person who is in charge of the teachers union, whoever that might be skilled to deal and understand that contract, because it's a very complex contract. It is looked at one way by the union. It's also looked at differently by the Board of Education. We can look at these contract articles and interpret them differently. But going back to Article 47, it seems pretty clear to me that the board does have the ability to make adjustments.
Okay. And they only have to give the union 10 days notice, I understand.
Well, it's the fiscal year. The fiscal year starts in July 1st. During the month of June, the board has the authority to not act on a resolution that would allow them to bring the union back to the bargaining table. So they have the month of June, and the union has 15 days prior to the beginning of the fiscal year to determine what course they're going to take.
Okay, because now when is the election? May 21st?
The election is May 21st. At this point, there's 6 different groups who have thrown their hat,
caucuses.
6 different caucuses who've thrown their hat into the race. We are now in the process of obtaining the necessary signatures to become official candidates. My caucus, the School Employee Alliance, has been collecting signatures, and we feel comfortable at this point that we're going to be able to obtain enough signatures to get on the ballot. But, we have another week and a half to submit them. So every caucus is in the process of doing that right now.
Okay. Well, as a union president, what changes would you like to see in the contract or the way teachers are treated? Or
Well, I think you hit the nail right on the head with the way teachers are treated, Sheila. Our number one thing in the School Employee Alliance, the S.E.A., is respect. We feel that we're hardworking. Teachers are hardworking people. I've spent over 20 years as a physical education teacher in the Chicago Public Schools, and it's a difficult job, and we just want to be respected for what we do. Also, the Renaissance 2010 program is a very controversial program. We would like to see changes to that program. We would like to see changes to job security and job protections for both teachers and PSRPs. We'd also like to see the working environment be better.
The working conditions for teachers.
Obviously, you've seen some different working conditions in your
elementary
years.
Schools, teachers get a 20 minutes a day for lunch, and that's about it.
Well, and a lot of these, what we call closed campus schools, they eat lunch with their kids. And they sometimes get a 10-minute break early or a 10-minute break. They're not necessarily together for the purpose of eating lunch. I know
you're in the 20 minutes time. That's to take the students to the lunchroom and go back and get them. And you were talking about Renaissance 2010, and I know the board is talking about turnaround schools. And remember at Lindblom was one of the highest ranked schools. It was the Lindblom College Preparatory High School. It was the highest ranked school, had high scores and everything, but still was closed. Now they're saying they're closing the schools because of lack of performance. Lindblom had high performance, and remember we worked together on that, but didn't help.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Board of Education looks at different reasons. I felt strongly about the performance of Lindblom back then. It's not only that. I think one of the other things that our union really needs to do is come together and unify. And we've had, over the last 10 years, I've seen so much divisiveness and so much infighting. So one of our platforms is to try to bring all the different union caucuses together. And I think it's going to take a lot of work, but it also is going to require the right leader, and I feel comfortable that I can do that.
I know you're saying that even as far as hiring with the S.E.A. Caucus, that you're going to open it up to everyone from every caucus to interview and apply, and you're asking for other caucuses to be convention delegates, so you're trying to have an inclusive program there.
Well, there are good people in all the caucuses, and that's the problem that we're having. That some of the leaders of the different caucuses are, it's hard to understand their motives at times. But, my motive is very, very clear: to bring the Chicago Teachers Union together, to empower the delegates who come to these meetings every month and walk out of there feeling like they haven't accomplished anything. Also, policy making. Speaking of the House of Delegates, the delegates are the key to getting the leadership's message out to the school and the members. And they need to feel empowered. They need to come to these meetings. They need to leave the meetings feeling that they can go back with enthusiasm and energy and get the message out. And we have and I think the School Employee Alliance has a great message, and we have a great website, a great message. But again, the key is the board union agreement, and I mean the contract is everything. We've worked for 30 years to get the contract to the size of a novel. And there's good stuff in there. There's stuff that has helped the teachers over the years, but a lot of the language is very unclear and very ambiguous. Okay. And it's vital for someone who understands it, not only how the union interprets the contract, but how the board interprets the contract. And I've been doing that for 5 years, and that's what I think I bring to the table that the other presidential candidates don't.
Okay, I want to remind you, you're watching Moving Forward. I'm your host, Sheila Frazier. Our guest tonight is Chicago Teachers Union Field Representative Ted Haji Harris, who's also a candidate for president of Chicago Teachers Union. If you have any comments or questions, please call us at 312-738-1060. We have Joe on the line. Hi, Joe.